Yeah, we started losing control a long time ago. I guess we didn't realize they were turning up the heat. It's getting more and more like it's us against them, with the thems joined together to control the rest of us us's. It used to be we had a chance. It wasn't that long ago that it seemed we all had at least the opportunity to improve our lives. Then something happened it was about the way people viewed money. Making money became really important, like a virtue. And greed helped make more of it. People even talk about how our country would have never prospered if it wasn't for greed driving capitalism. It was greed that motivated us to increase what we produce, which ended up being good for everybody. Well, as an average Joe, I can tell you that there's not many of us that are now getting the benefits from the greed driving our economy anymore. Oh yeah, in order for these folks to create their wealth, chances are they have to create jobs for us along the way. But you see, the greed that drives the creation of jobs doesn't just stop there for many of these folks, and although that employment they provide, we all agree is a very good thing. And then we also need to remember that they wouldn't have invested if there wasn't a profit motive for them, which is also a good thing. And all I'm saying is that for a lot of those folks, that motive continues to be driven by excessive greed. And I emphasize excessive. Now, I know it'd probably be counterproductive and more than a little socialistic to define what excessive might mean. But I think it's good to have a conversation about the reasonableness of expectations for employers and employees. I mean, let's keep in mind that to encourage the risk of investment, there has to be a reward that's much greater than the risk of taking a job where there's little or no risk. Let's also understand that a CEO of a corporation that makes $50 million a year is a job, not an investment. As are high-paid banking executives who use government money to gain revenue, while both groups might have low-wage employees whose work provides for those exorbitant salaries. As the rich get richer and the water in the pot gets hotter and jobs get scarcer, we're still told by these political parties and elected officials to believe we all have an equal opportunity or equal chance of opportunity. And the education and ambition of our kids will give them a level playing field in the future. Of course, we continue believing that crap until we're the ones who can't locate the opportunity. And we're being played as fools by those who have their future set by corrupting a system that we've not only allowed, but encouraged by defending and worshiping these politicians who use us for their vote and then discard us when they move on to greener pastures as they take care of their kids' future. And over again we hear them offer that good common sense moral soundbite that says, rather than having to keep giving someone a fish, we should teach them how to fish. But like before, what do you do when there are no fish? When you look outside the pot, you see the pond drying up. It appears a lot of folks would rather just believe in false hope and stay in the pot until they're cooked. But they don't want to believe that the greed that once provided the stimulus of the greatest economy on earth could now, in the words of an economist, allow the big winners to feed their pets better than the losers can feed their children. I never thought about it that way before, but it would be shameful if it was true. But as we've allowed to things to become desperate, in the past we at least had hope that our children would have opportunity to improve their plight, and education would be their great equalizer. But even education has failed us. It's failed us average Joes because once again, as it has in other industries, greed drives its decisions. By raising tuitions and fees to put more money in the hands of administrators to spend. Tuition should be going down, not up. We need our kids to get an education to help our future. Problem is now it costs so much. You have to be well off to go to school to have a chance at being well off. And you know, since students are the reason these colleges exist, they should be deciding what they're paying for. Let them just pay for the classes they need to get a job without all that other stuff, and use Kindle to get free textbooks. They shouldn't be charged for athletics. I mean, you know, that's great for us sports fans, but they're having a hard enough time paying for all the courses they need to get a job. And that's the important thing. getting a job. And adding these extra costs just take them longer to get a degree. Then add to that the time it takes those needing remedial classes, and it's almost impossible to afford college nowadays. I mean, they're talking about 4 out of every 10 kids needing remedial classes. And that means it costs them and us even more money. I always said that they should sue the high schools that didn't give them enough of a good education, causing them to waste all that time and money getting caught up and not out working, making money. And those folks we elected to office need to understand the main purpose of schools should be learning to get a job, not to provide jobs. That's politics. It needs to get back to education. And you know, think about this. Why should the colleges need to hire lobbyists? They're everywhere. These politicians need to start talking to students and parents to make their decisions, demand these schools get rid of lobbyists and all those politically connected administrators so they can hire somebody who maybe won a Nobel Prize to teach, or at least someone who came in second. And the same for those athletic directors and coaches whose salaries could change your whole university department to be world class. Well, they have no hope of doing the same in athletics. I attended a university that's only won 15% of its college games, its football games. And yet spends millions of dollars in hopes of what? If they're lucky getting up to 30%? Come on, folks. And if they did, they'd be lucky if it only lasted for a year. Well, a great education lasts a lifetime. These people we put in office need to think about spending that money on free tuition and grants to students with careers in our national interests. It makes me wonder if they realize their job description includes something as important as education, and whether they and their well-paid staffs need the guidance of lobbyists to find out what's best for their students' future. You know, I remember when students used to protest all kinds of things. It's about time they started protesting education and how the government's money is being spent and how much is being wasted. Let me tell you how let me tell you, these folks we elect spend our stimulus money and they spend it on education. I guess I should say educational jobs. And you know, there were hundreds of ways to waste that money with all kinds of studies at schools, even one in California for 1.9 million studying ants working that didn't add anything to education or the economy. But there were 2 in particular that I came across that were incredible. $144,000 for researchers at Wake Forest University, a good school, to see how monkeys react under the influence of cocaine that they're able to administer themselves. That's probably how they got the storyline for Planet of the Apes. And another $357,000 to the University of Kentucky to investigate how that drug enhances the sex drive of the Japanese quail. Now, I haven't heard anybody complain or ask why. And nobody found out yet if a researcher was dating any of the quail. But since this is our money that should be stimulating our economy to create jobs, I think I'd want to know. Besides, it seems like we already have too many real-life studies of cocaine's effects on humans and its cost in lives and potential. So why waste another $500,000 screwing up the lives of perfectly good monkeys and quail when we could spend the money maybe stopping the drug from coming into our country? Could you imagine how much the economy would be stimulated if all that drug money was spent on American goods and services? What's the fascination with cocaine anyway? I guess somebody in government mentioned that it was a stimulant, and they got confused. The typical government stuff. But you know, I think someone needs to do a drug test on these people who come up with these stimulus plans. Oh, and while they're at it, someone needs to monitor the cocaine after it's purchased for these studies. We can only imagine the monkeys getting pissed off because someone's into their stash. And if you're going to spend stimulus money on education, at least spend it on teaching kids to read, teaching kids to learn, so they can get a job that's productive, and getting a job, help them get a job. Something that's going to help the economy grow, stimulus stuff. These politicians are supposed to be using it to provide us a chance at a better life. Think about it.